In 1943, cut off from supplies in the Pacific, American field medics sealed open combat wounds with tree resin powder. The wounds held, the men survived. That formula costs about $1 today. A box of medical-grade wound closure strips runs $8 to $15 at any pharmacy. They peel in sweat, they fail in water, they shift with every movement. The 3 ingredients in this powder cost pennies per application. They store indefinitely. And each one has been independently validated by modern published research. Yet no pharmaceutical company will ever sell it to you, because you cannot patent a pine tree. By the end of this video, you will have the exact ratio, the step-by-step method, and the science behind every single ingredient. But before I show you the formula, you need to understand why this works. And why it has been working for thousands of years before those medics ever touched it. If you believe that survival knowledge should not sit behind a paywall, you are in the right place. That is what this channel exists to do. We recover practical knowledge that has been buried, forgotten, or priced out of reach. And we test everything before we share it. If that sounds like the kind of community you want to be part of, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Not for me. For the next piece of knowledge that might matter when the lights go out. Because these videos do not stay easy to find forever. Now, let us go back about 2,000 years. Because those field medics in the Pacific were not the first ones to figure this out. Not even close. Around 70 AD, a Greek physician named Pedanius Dioscorides compiled one of the most important medical texts the ancient world ever produced. It was called De Materia Medica. In it, Dioscorides documented the use of pine resin as a wound-sealing agent. He described how it was applied directly to open cuts and lacerations to stop bleeding, prevent corruption of the flesh, and hold the wound closed while the body healed underneath. This was not folk superstition. This was the standard medical reference used across the Roman Empire for over 1,500 years. Now travel east, thousands of miles from Greece and ancient India, Ayurvedic practitioners were arriving at a remarkably similar conclusion through completely independent observation. Turmeric poultices were applied to battlefield injuries. The Sushruta Samhita, one of the oldest surgical texts in human history, documented the use of turmeric paste to reduce swelling, prevent wound infection, and accelerate the closure of damaged tissue. They had no contact with Greek medicine, no shared research. They simply observed what worked and wrote it down across the ocean. In North America, long before European contact, Native American tribes across multiple regions used conifer resin as a wound sealant. Early European naturalists documented this practice with considerable surprise. The resin was harvested directly from pine and spruce trees, softened or powdered, and pressed into wounds. It sealed on contact, it resisted water, and the wounds healed cleanly underneath. 3 civilizations, 3 continents, separated by thousands of miles and thousands of years. Same answer. Now fast forward to the 1940s. The Pacific Theater. American forces are fighting island to island, supply lines are stretched impossibly thin, forward positions are cut off for days, sometimes weeks. Field medics are running out of sulfa powder, running out of bandages, running out of everything, and men are still getting hit, so they improvised. Reports from that era describe medics harvesting resin from local pine and conifer species, grinding it into powder, and applying it directly to shrapnel wounds and deep lacerations. The resin bonded to the tissue, it sealed the wound, it held through sweat, rain, and movement in dense tropical jungle. And the men who received those treatments survived long enough to reach proper medical care. Some of them healed entirely under nothing but tree resin and pressure. This was not a secret experiment. It was desperate ingenuity grounded in the same principle that Dioscorides documented nearly 2,000 years earlier. The forest had the answer. It always had the answer. So the history is deep. But history alone does not prove the science. Let us look at what modern researchers actually found when they tested each of these 3 ingredients. Now, what I am showing you today is the surface. Inside the vault, which is linked in the description below, there are dozens of methods just like this one. Wound care, water purification, food preservation, off-grid medicine, natural antibiotics, emergency dental repair, each one sourced, tested, and explained with zero fluff. If you want the full library, the link is below, but stay right here. Because everything you need for this formula is completely free in this video. Now, the science. And this is where it gets really interesting. Let us start with pine resin. Published research has identified abietic acid as one of the primary active compounds in conifer resin. Studies have demonstrated that abietic acid exhibits significant antimicrobial activity against multiple bacterial strains, including common wound infection pathogens. But that is only half of what the resin does. Pine resin also undergoes a natural polymerization process when exposed to air. In plain language, it hardens. It forms a rigid but slightly flexible seal. This is the same chemical principle behind natural varnishes and adhesives that have been used for centuries. When applied to a wound, the resin bonds to the skin, seals out moisture and contaminants, and creates a physical barrier that holds without stitches, tape, or synthetic adhesive. Now, beeswax. Biocompatibility studies have confirmed that beeswax is one of the safest natural substances you can place on human skin. It is already used extensively in pharmaceutical creams, cosmetic formulations, and medical-grade skin barriers. It is breathable, it is flexible, and when blended with a harder compound like pine resin, it prevents the seal from becoming too brittle. It allows the wound covering to move with your skin instead of cracking and falling off. Think of it as the flexibility agent. The resin provides the structure, the wax provides the give. Then there is turmeric, and this is the strongest modern proof pillar of the three. Curcumin, the primary active compound in turmeric, has been the subject of an extraordinary volume of published peer-reviewed research. Studies have validated its anti-inflammatory mechanisms at the cellular level. Its antimicrobial properties have been tested against multiple bacterial strains with consistent positive results. And wound healing studies have observed measurable acceleration in tissue repair when curcumin is present at the wound site. This is not fringe science. Curcumin research has been published in major journals across multiple countries and institutions for decades. In simple terms, the resin glues, the wax flexes, and the turmeric fights infection underneath. 3 ingredients, 3 jobs. Each one validated independently by modern science. So each ingredient is proven on its own. Now here's the question nobody in the pharmaceutical industry wants you to ask. Why has no one sold this to you? The global wound care market is valued in the hundreds of billions of dollars. Let that number settle for a moment. Hundreds of billions. That market is dominated by major medical device and pharmaceutical corporations that sell disposable bandages, adhesive strips, wound closure products, and antimicrobial dressings. Their entire business model depends on one thing: you running out, you buying more. Every cut, every scrape, every injury is a new transaction, recurring revenue, quarterly earnings, shareholder reports. Now imagine what happens to that model if people discover that 3 natural ingredients, available almost anywhere on Earth, can do the same job for about $1. And that single dollar produces enough powder for dozens of applications. There is no recurring purchase. There is no subscription. There is no brand loyalty because there is no brand. Pine resin cannot be patented. Beeswax cannot be patented. Turmeric cannot be patented. No company can own them, which means no company will ever spend a single marketing dollar telling you they work, because there is no return on that investment. That is the equation. It is not complicated. It is not even hidden. It is just math. When a solution cannot be owned, it cannot be sold at a markup. And when it cannot be sold at a markup, it becomes invisible, not because it does not work, but because no one profits from you knowing about it. You do not need their permission. You do not need their price tag. You just need the formula. If this kind of knowledge matters to you, take 2 seconds right now and share this video with one person who needs it. Every video like this that gets shared is one more family that does not have to pay $30 for what a pine tree gives away. And if you have not subscribed yet, now is the time. All right? Before I give you the step-by-step, I owe you the full picture, because that is what this channel does. Here is what is proven beyond any doubt. Pine resin is a natural adhesive with documented antimicrobial properties. That is established science. Curcumin is a validated anti-inflammatory and antimicrobial compound. That is supported by an extensive body of peer-reviewed research. Beeswax is a proven biocompatible skin barrier used in pharmaceutical formulations worldwide. No debate there. Here is what is historical but not clinically tested. The specific combination I am about to give you, the 3 parts to 1 part to 1 part ratio, has not been evaluated in a formal controlled clinical trial as a unified wound sealing product. The field medic accounts from the Pacific Theater are historical reports, not peer-reviewed studies. That distinction matters, and I want you to know it. This formula is not a replacement for emergency medical care on serious wounds. If you have a deep puncture, arterial bleeding, or a wound that clearly needs stitches, get to a medical professional. Period. Turmeric will stain your skin temporarily. Pine resin quality varies by species and harvest method, and you must always clean a wound thoroughly before applying anything. But here is what I want you to hold on to. What is proven beyond any doubt is that each of these 3 ingredients does exactly what this formula asks it to do. Seal, flex, and protect. 3 independent functions, 3 independently validated ingredients, combined using a ratio informed by centuries of traditional practice. Now you know what is proven and what is historical. Here is exactly how to make it. Step 1. Source your ingredients. Pine resin can be harvested directly from living conifer trees. Look for the hardened golden or amber sap on the bark of pine, spruce, or fir trees. You can also purchase pine resin from natural supply vendors or bushcraft suppliers online. For beeswax, use food-grade beeswax, available from beekeeping suppliers, craft stores, or online. For turmeric, use standard ground turmeric powder available at any grocery store. Step 2. Prepare the resin. If your pine resin is in solid chunks, you need to grind it into a fine powder. A dedicated coffee grinder works well. So does a mortar and pestle. You want a consistency similar to flour. No large chunks, no sticky clumps. If the resin is too soft to grind, place it in the freezer for 1 hour. It will become brittle and grind easily. Step 3. Prepare the beeswax. Grate the beeswax using a fine cheese grater or shave it with a knife into the smallest possible pieces. Some suppliers sell beeswax in pastille or pellet form, which can be ground directly. The finer the beeswax particles, the better it will blend. Step 4. Mix the formula. The ratio is 3 parts. Pine resin powder to 1 part, beeswax powder to 1 part turmeric powder. Measure by volume. 3 scoops of resin, 1 scoop of beeswax, 1 scoop of turmeric. Combine in a clean, dry bowl. Mix thoroughly until the color is uniform, a consistent golden brown throughout. Step 5. Store the powder. Transfer the mixed powder to an airtight container, a small mason jar, a metal tin with a tight lid, or a sealed plastic bag with the air pressed out. Store it in a cool, dry location away from direct sunlight. This powder keeps indefinitely. Years. It does not spoil, it does not lose potency. It belongs in your emergency kit, your bug-out bag, your medicine cabinet, and your glove compartment. Step 6. Application. When you have a wound, clean it thoroughly with clean water. Remove all debris, pat the area dry. Apply the powder liberally to cover the entire wound surface. Be generous. Then press gently with a clean finger or cloth. Hold firm pressure for 60 seconds. During that 60 seconds, the resin bonds to the skin and hardens. The beeswax integrates into the seal and provides flex. The turmeric settles against the wound bed. What you will see after 60 seconds is a firm but flexible natural bandage. It is waterproof. It moves with the skin, it stays sealed for multiple days, and it loosens naturally as healing progresses underneath. When the wound no longer needs protection, the seal will begin to lift at the edges on its own. No painful removal, no adhesive residue. Total cost for enough powder to treat dozens of wounds. Approximately $1, possibly less. That is it. 3 ingredients, 1 ratio. 60 seconds. Think about where we started. 1943. A jungle in the Pacific. A medic with empty supply bags and a bleeding soldier who was not going to make it to an evac point. No sulfa powder, no bandages, no help coming. Just a pine tree and the knowledge that the sap would seal a wound. He ground it up. He packed it in. And that soldier lived. You now have the same formula, refined with 2 additional ingredients that have been validated by modern published research. Sitting in a jar that costs less than a cup of coffee. 3 ingredients available on every continent. No prescription required, no corporation between you and it, no expiration date. This is yours now. No one can take it off a shelf. No one can raise the price. No one can discontinue it. It grows on trees, literally. Send this video to one person you care about, a parent, a spouse, a friend who camps or hikes or just believes in being ready. One share is one more family that has this knowledge when they need it most. Inside the vault, there's another formula that was almost erased completely. Something that handles a problem most people think requires a pharmacy and a doctor's visit. It does not. And it costs even less than what I showed you today. The link is in the description. This channel exists for one reason: to make sure that the knowledge that kept human beings alive for thousands of years does not disappear because it is not profitable enough to remember. You are part of that mission now. Stay prepared, stay informed, and I will see you in the next one.